everyone, I'm Dr. Chelsea Hansen. Today I want to talk with you about how to prevent an autism meltdown. The first tip I have for you is to make sure that the child's basic needs are met. So make sure that the child is not hungry or thirsty, and make sure that you have a regular bedtime routine where they are going to sleep early enough and getting enough sleep each night. So in our family, we don't schedule anything in the evening really, because our kids go to bed pretty early. They go to bed around 7 to 7:30 because that's what's best for them, and they function best the next day with a lot of rest. So if we were to schedule a dinner at 8 o'clock at night, it would end very badly for our kids. They would for sure have a meltdown because it's past their bedtime. They'd be exhausted. So sometimes you have to, make those types of plans, and that's fine, but just make sure that your child's basic needs are met, and that's the best preventative tool for avoiding meltdowns. The second tip I have for you is to have schedules throughout the day for your kids. And I have a couple different schedules. I have a visual schedule that looks like this. I hope you can see it. So we have over here, we have things that Olivia is to do, and then when she's all done, she moves the items right here. We have additional little activities with Velcro within this book. So depending on what we're working on that day, we homeschool in our family. We will make our visual schedule so she can see exactly what she's going to do throughout the day, and there are no surprises really. I also give her control over her schedule, so I'll say, do you want to work on reading or writing first? And then she actually puts her schedule together each day. So it prevents any type of tantrum or meltdown because she sees exactly what's going to happen next. And then at the end, she has something that she's working for, and in this case, it's to go to the park in this example. Sometimes she likes that, and other times she likes a written schedule, so I have that as an option for her too. So I'll give her a lot of choices throughout the day, and then she knows what to expect, and that helps kind of prevent some of those transition issues. Speaking of transitions, my next tip is that you have either a sound timer or a visual timer. I have a couple of those. So we have a sand timer that looks like this, and then we have one of these cool timers. We have a bunch of options. You can get all this on Amazon, and the sand timers are even at the dollar store, so it's all inexpensive. But when something is happening next, so let's say we have to get in the car to go to a doctor's appointment at 2 o'clock, I'll start to warn Olivia about transitions throughout the day. And, around 1:30, I'll say, okay, in 5 minutes we have to go get in the car. And then I'll offer her either the visual timer, if it's, there's 1 minute left or whatever the case may be. We have different levels of timers. So some are for several minutes, some are for 1 minute. Or do you want the sound timer? And she does not prefer the sound timer at all. I always give her that choice, but that's not her preference. So she'll say, I'll just transition on my own because she's a little bit older now, or she'll choose the visual timer. But giving a lot of choices and doing a lot of preparation for transitions helps prevent meltdowns. What we really want to avoid doing is if your child is in the middle of an activity, let's say they're playing with their favorite toy, we don't want to just say, okay, it's time to get in the car, get your shoes on, because that's going to upset your child. There is a difference between a tantrum and a meltdown. A tantrum is simply just not wanting to do something that we ask, and that's for all children. All kids have tantrums, and these can help prevent tantrums too. A meltdown sometimes starts as a tantrum, sometimes it doesn't. It just kind of depends on the situation. And it gets to a place where the child really can't control his or her behavior, and it starts to get really difficult for them, and of course very difficult for the parents. So, keeping in mind that these tips can sometimes be used for either one. The next tip I have for you is as soon as you notice that your child is starting to get upset, try to redirect them to something else. So if I notice that Olivia is getting upset about something, can be anything at all, I might say, oh, I know, that's really tough. Hey, look at this bouncy ball. I wonder if it bounces higher than this other bouncy ball, because she really loves bouncy balls. It acknowledges her feelings, but I don't stay there. I don't stay in that moment of acknowledging her feelings too much. It's controversial because some parenting books suggest that we should really get into that child's emotions with them and really connect with them in that way and say, oh, I know it was really hard when this happened. I can see that you're upset. I'd be upset too, and really trying to show empathy and things like that. That can be helpful, and I think there's a time and place for that. But when I'm trying to prevent tantrums and meltdowns, I don't stay in that space for very long. I'll quickly acknowledge the child's emotions. That was really difficult. Hey, look, there's a bouncy ball. I want to see if it bounces as high as this ball. To redirect quickly, because sometimes our kids can perseverate, which means that they get stuck on negative emotions, and it's really hard for them to move on and get through that. So redirection can be a helpful tool in those cases so that we don't get stuck there. Then when the child is not upset, you can circle back and talk about whatever the situation was if you'd like to later on when they're calm and they're more prepared to have that discussion. The next tip I have for you is to provide sensory input. So this can be something as simple as providing a fidget toy. There are fidget toys everywhere, dollar store, Target, just depending on what your child needs. Some kids need deep pressure, so like some arm squeezes can be helpful. A hug, a tight hug. One thing that is really helpful for a lot of kids is a weighted blanket. Let's see if we can see that. They have weighted blankets everywhere now. They sell them on Amazon. We got this at Brookstone. But this can be really helpful in calming your child. It's actually really relaxing for anyone. They're great. And they make them everywhere. Amazon even has some that are, with specific cartoons and things like that. So just search for weighted blanket. They can be custom made online as well. And this is really helpful, especially when your child is starting to get anxious. And it can be preventative in nature too. The last tip I have for you is to prime your child, and I'll explain what that means, if you're going to do anything out of the ordinary. So priming means you're preparing your child and you're really thoroughly explaining what they can expect from a situation. So as an example, we recently flew on an airplane, and our kids have been on planes before, but it had been a while. So what I did to prime both of our kids is I showed them videos of airplanes. I showed them YouTube videos of families traveling. I got a bunch of books from the library on airplanes and what to expect in the airport and so forth, and we talked about it very thoroughly. We did social stories about what to expect through, going through security to, a flight attendant will be on the airplane, and that person may bring you a snack, and these are the acceptable behaviors on a plane, and here's what we can't do on a plane, and so forth. So we did a ton of preparation, and our kids did awesome on the plane, really, really well. But it's because we spent a long time priming them so they knew exactly what to expect. And that can alleviate anxiety. But meltdowns sometimes come from being overwhelmed. Sometimes it's a sensory issue. Sometimes it's, an intense anxiety about something specific. So meltdowns all have different causes. Again, it can be something as simple as needing food or a drink and it just going on too long or being really tired. But we should know that these are common causes and then take these steps to try to prevent meltdowns for our kiddos. I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in the next video.